It's time we do the word of the day. Make sure I turn it off so Dustin doesn't tell me I'm having mic feedback. Today's word I wanted y'all to think about throughout the day is prepared. Property, expectant, organized, or equipped, ready. The example, I am prepared for the second coming of Jesus. So as you go throughout your day, just think about that word and how it relates to you and Jesus. A time of celebration is at hand. A new year begins today. But yeah, I hear you. Hang on a sec, Pastor. You have lost your mind. It is not January 1st, it's December 3rd. True it is, but just the same, a new year begins today. The church's new year. Today it is the first Sunday of Advent. And the season of Advent begins the church's year. The traditional liturgical color of Advent, just like Lent, is purple. Advent and Lent traditionally began a season of reflection, repentance, but also of preparation, waiting, anticipation, and longing. Yes, Advent is the season when we reflect upon our readiness or lack of readiness to welcome Jesus. When we, as Christian people, prepare, wait for, anticipate, and long for His coming, which we celebrate each year at Christmas. Our gospel text today aids us in our weeks of reflection, repentance, waiting, and preparation period to Christmas, as we strive for personal spiritual renewal, as we prepare to welcome Jesus into our lives on that joyful morning. Now, Jesus prefaced his parable with a statement of the reality, of which it means to harbor the deepest longing and anticipation common to every Christian's heart, waiting for his coming. Yet he knows of the impatience of the human spirit, how easily we give up when we are waiting and waiting and waiting and nothing seems to happen. Jesus says in Mark 13:33, "Be on guard, be alert. You do not know when that time will come." He tells us to be watchful. He tells us to wait. He tells us to be hopeful. He tells us to anticipate His return. Then He begins His story. And unlike some of the parables, it is a short story, which He begins with some familiar words. It's like. When Jesus uses an introduction like this, we know that He is about to invite those who hear His words to make a parallel between all too familiar everyday life and the deep mysteries of faith. The familiar everyday life situation is that a man leaves his house and goes on a journey. He's obviously a wealthy man, since he has a number of servants. Before he leaves, he instructs them on their task, their jobs. Some to make sure the house is kept neat and in good repair. And he instructs the doorkeeper to keep watch so that the door may be open for him, the owner, the master of the house, on his return home. The servants are to be attentive in their duties, even though they do not know when he will return. There's no slacking allowed, no sense of which the servants can say, the master surely won't be home today, so let's just have fun and be lazy. No worries about the dusting, the cleaning, the disposal of household garbage. No reason to keep watch. No reason to be ready to welcome the Master home today. We'll begin our preparation again, our watching, tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes, does it? And so the house gets more and more cluttered and dusty. The door hinges become rusty and difficult to open. The servants become lazy, and sharp-sightedness becomes impaired through lack of practice. How much like these servants we can be in our lives of faith. How like that house, our spiritual lives can become full of clutter, dusty, unkept. How like that door, our spiritual lives can become difficult to open. How unprepared we can be for the Master's return. What lack of vision we can suffer from when we do not anticipate, when we stop to hope for the Master's return. Advent is a time for putting our spiritual house in order by examining our life's priorities. What's important to us and our loved ones. Through the spiritual discipline of prayer and reflection on Jesus' words, we can empty our house of the clutter that delays our readiness to welcome Jesus, the Master, into our lives. How about the clutter of our desires for material things? The new car, the latest computer games, the newest cell phones, all the things that advertisers on TV try to convince us will make our Christmas complete. Sweep those desires away. How about the clutter of our desires to buy all the food and drink, so much of which gets thrown away, without which the TV advertisers try to convince us Christmas will be such a disappointment. Swipe those desires away. Now, I'm no Grinch, and I enjoy celebrating Christmas just as much as all the other Christians. But what's Christmas all about? That is the question. Friends, it's about celebrating the birth of Jesus. And the most important thing is that we need to be sure we're ready to welcome him again whenever he comes home to dwell within us. So watch, my friends, for we do not know when the Master will come. Will it be in the evening? Will it be at midnight? Will it be at dawn? Or later in the morning when the rooster crows? We do not know, but we must be found alert, vigilant, and welcoming. We must not be found asleep. Asleep means unprepared. And it means to be indifferent and unconcerned about being unprepared. As Jesus cautioned his disciples then, so he alerts us now to the fact that we too must be ready, or will be in danger of missing his promised arrival altogether. Yes, Jesus' arrival is an event that is promised reality. We do not know when or how the Master of our house will come, but we are offered a glimpse of this mystery in Scripture. In Acts 1:11 we read, "This same Jesus who has been taken from you into heaven will come back in the same way you've seen him go into heaven." In John 14:3, Jesus says, "I go to prepare a place for you. I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am." Jesus is coming again. Of that we can be assured. Like the Master of that house, but when or how he will return, that is a mystery. In Matthew 24:36, Jesus says, "But about that day or hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven nor the Son, but only the Father." And then in Matthew 24:44, he says, so you also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. So what does it mean to be ready? It means clearly our spiritual house of everyday worldly clutter, so we can be alert and finally to welcome the Master. Now, I'm not suggesting that Jesus will return at Christmas. Simply that Advent gives us an opportunity to make ready, and perhaps above all, it means being patient as we wait and not giving up. There is a story about a tourist traveling along the shores of Lake Como in northern Italy. When he reached a castle called Villa Arconati, a friendly old gardener saw him peering through the gates and opened them and invited the tourist in. There the tourist saw the most spectacular gardens he had ever seen in a long while. Gardens that the old gardener kept in perfect order. The tourist asked the old gardener whether the owner of the castle was in. No, he replied. He hasn't been here at all for over the last 10 years. Does he even write to you? The tourist asked. No. From who do you get your instructions as a tourist? From his agent, was the reply. So the tourist followed his question. Does his agent come here? The answer was once again, no. Who does come here then as a tourist? I'm almost always alone, apart from the occasional tourist like yourself, replied the old gardener. In amazement, the tourist exclaimed, yet you keep these gardens looking immaculate, just as though you expect your owner to arrive home tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. Today, sir. Today, replied the old gardener. Friends, Jesus is coming again. Yet, are we waiting for his coming only at the end of time? Or do we also sense his presence amongst us today? For Jesus still comes to us through his words. We listen to him through the gospel. We know Jesus' presence through his church, through you and me, and all faithful people, as we become his servants to and with one another. But all the same, we are called to be watchful, to patiently wait, and to prepare for Jesus' arrival. May you grow in the grace and knowledge of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.